Welcome back to the News Hub. North Korea is likely to conduct a missile launch test as early as today, as the country marks the birthday of its founder, Kim Il-sung. This is adding to tensions in the region that have been close to boiling over. The Journal's Jeremy Page joins us from Beijing this morning as pressure continues to mount on China to help quell the saber-rattling. Good morning, Jeremy. So, the first question, John Kerry is over there at the moment. He's had a whirlwind tour dealing with challenges in three really difficult countries, but all very, very important to the US relationship in the region. How did he fare in dealing with this particular issue, the concerns of military tensions in the Korean Peninsula?
I think the results are mixed so far from John Kerry's first visit here as Secretary of State. The good news is that everybody seems to have pulled back from the brink of that military confrontation that seemed to be a very realistic possibility over the last couple of weeks. North Korea doesn't seem to have tested that missile today. It's already evening here in North Asia, and no signs of that having taken place. A lot of people are expecting that it's the anniversary of the birth date of the founder of North Korea, Kim Il-sung. And you're also seeing the US now reaching out to North Korea saying it's willing to have talks. South Korea also reached out saying it was willing to have talks. So that's the good news. The bad news is that no one has changed their basic position. So the North Koreans rejected the South Korean overtures. The US is still saying it'll only talk if it sees signs that North Korea is willing to give up its nuclear arsenal. And the Chinese are saying, they're willing to have talks too, but they want it to be six-party talks involving Russia, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, and the US.
China is critical here, obviously, and you know the country well. Is there a sense that they are shifting? I mean, there have been some signals that China's taking less of a hard line in their defense of Pyongyang. Where are things moving in Beijing on this issue?
Well, that really is the key question. We have seen a lot of very interesting developments here, particularly in the state media. We are seeing unusual levels of criticism of North Korea from sort of Chinese academics who advise and comment on policy. It's notable that criticism has mostly come from civilian experts, though, and we're seeing that in the media a lot. But it really is the Chinese military which calls the shots on the relationship with North Korea. And from the people that I've been speaking to, and if you read what's going on in the sort of military press, there are official military newspapers, the view seems to be very much that China feels it still needs North Korea as a sort of strategic buffer against US forces in Asia. So yes, they're very frustrated with North Korea's behavior, but they're not ready to really sort of pile on the pressure. They could the most extreme action they could take is to cut off economic aid, but that would do enormous damage to North Korea's economy and would antagonize the leadership there, and China doesn't want to see that.
Now, a complicated task for Secretary Kerry here, because he's dealing with South Korea, Japan and China in this particular visit, and all of them have reasons to mistrust each other at the moment. How did he manage to weave through that particular difficult scenario? And particularly, I think the Senkaku Islands was a contentious point.
That's right. I mean, he had to sort of say all the right things to everybody here, so it was a very difficult balancing act, and he seems to have pulled it off pretty well. I think the key point was how things went down in China, and there was a sort of classic diplomatic fudge here, really, where what Kerry said was that the Chinese side had agreed with the US that they would work towards the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, which is a sort of a useful turn of phrase, because China's understanding of what denuclearization means is very different from what the US understands it to be. The US basically means disarming North Korea, stopping its nuclear weapons program. Right. China's definition of denuclearization is slightly different. It feels that in order for there to be stability on the peninsula, basically the US has to roll back some of its security commitments to South Korea.
Right.
So perhaps even roll back the nuclear umbrella, which the US provides protection to South Korea.
Complicated situation. Jeremy, thank you very much for your time.